everyone. Thank you very much for joining our call today. I am so excited to be here with you and share some news about Outlook. And basically, a couple of weeks ago, we had our Build conference. So we made some important announcements, and I want to kind of do a quick recap for you, show you a couple of the demos that we showed during the presentation, and talk about three things basically. What the new Outlook. So this is basically the topic that is has a lot of priority in our teams today. The new Outlook is coming. Outlook add-ins. What does that mean for Outlook add-ins? We're also launching a bunch of new features. We announced the availability of the Mailbox 1.13 requirement set. So we're gonna go on to see what's included there. And finally, we are going to talk about Smart Alerts. Smart Alerts is a feature that we shipped, a couple of months ago. There's been a lot of excitement in the community. Many people are using it, and I am seeing, kind of a few kind of best practices that I want to recommend you to be successful here, right? And finally, I also I'm going to show some videos about the demos that a couple of partners help us build for the conference. Harmony and CodeTwo did some amazing videos, and I want to show you a quick recap of those also. So let's get started. So for those of you, I think I have talked about this a couple of times in the call, but I want to share it again. Basically, there's a new Outlook happening right now that's coming, and basically, if you right now it's available in the current channel, and it's also going to be available in the monthly enterprise channel during the summer, if not already. But basically, you'll see kind of a toggle that is in the top right column of top right screen of Outlook that you can use to toggle, to the new experience. No, so basically, when you click on it, you get into the new Outlook, and basically, the one thing that I want you to learn about this is that, why are we doing it and when it's going to happen, which are the most common questions, no? So why are we doing it? But basically because we want to have a unified experience, consistency across the different platforms. Also, we have been receiving a ton of feedback around, customers that are kind of used to the, Outlook in Windows, and then they're not finding the features they love, in the other platforms, and vice versa. No, there's kind of there's a lot of inconsistencies across all of them, right? And the other thing that I want to do is that we want to unify our code base. Right now, Outlook, the team is kind of writing code for 7 different platforms, and we basically want to unify those into a single one. And that means that is basically good news for us, because that's going to enable us to ship, not only bug fixes, but also new features faster to our communities. We're going to have this increment in engineering velocity. And basically, if you think about the new Outlook, it's basically the platform that we're going to be consolidating towards is the web platform. So imagine that it's going to be a native wrapper, around the web-based product, right? So basically, what that means is home add-ins are not going to be supported. No? You can try it today, so go ahead, try it. And the other thing that many people ask me is, when is this going to happen? And the answer to that question is that we don't know. We don't know the exact date. We don't have actually a set date for this to happen. I believe that we believe actually that it's going to be something like a journey. And if you look at what we did for the new Mac UI for the Outlook for Mac, that took approximately 2 years to complete. So I believe that we're going to be kind of in the same ballpark here. So it's not going to happen from one day to the other. It's going to take time, and basically for developers, this means that COM and BSTO add-ins, Outlook add-ins are not going to be supported in this new Outlook product. No, so web add-ins is going to be the platform of choice for the new Outlook. So my team actually is, and I think I'm working with many of guys that are in the call today. That we're working on making. We have been investing a lot in the web add-in platform, but we are kind of doubling down the investment. We want to make sure that you guys have all the features that you need in order to enable your add-ins in the new Outlook. By the way, the step zero of that was to just enable it, right? And we just did it. So if you have an existing web add-in, the call to action here is to try it. Toggle the new Outlook, make sure that your add-in is working. It should be. Um, but if for whatever reason you find any issue, please go ahead and report it. Here's the link to our GitHub repo so that you can report any issues there, right? And then on the other hand, if you have tried to create a web add-in and you have struggled to provide an experience previously available in the COM BSTO world, please make sure to engage with our team. So we enabled this link here to report gaps in the platform. Our team is looking at this information when needed. If you want, we can actually contact you directly so that you can engage with our team and have a conversation about how can we improve here. No? So that's basically what it means for Outlook developers. So the good news is that we are closing the gaps. So we know that even though we have been investing for the last many years heavily on the new model, we know that there are gaps. So we're closing those gaps. So if you want to see the latest in this journey, you can go to the link here on the top right to go to the status. So we're going to be kind of updating frequently that page as the new features become available. No, but basically the approach that my team is having is that we have identified a set of different scenarios that have the top use in the COM-add-in world. As you can see, this list is basically summarizing. It's a lot of information, but I'm not going to go evidently row by row. But what I want to tell you is that these are the scenarios that are more popular in the Outlook add-in world. No, so you will see that there are a ton of spam reporting and education solutions, online meeting providers. What I call meeting boosters, those add-ins that are adding kind of functionalities to when you create an appointment so that folks can, they're doing tons of different things here, like adding catering services to meetings, or, illumination or air conditioning on the rooms and so on. Online signatures, we have many partners who are very successful actually on the email signature business. Just to name a few, CRM attachment. So one of the things that we notice is that security scenarios are one core kind of component of very common scenario in the com world. So that is kind of taking priority in the team right now. No. So we are working a lot in enabling and making those scenarios great. The good news is that those scenarios are so complex that adding features for those scenarios can block others, right? So this table is basically summarizing what are the scenarios, kind of a brief description of it. We know we are engaging with customers that are in this area, so we are identifying gaps that we have in those areas. No, so what you can see is the status here is if it has a green happy face, it means that if you have an add-in that is in those categories, you should be able to create equivalent or even better web add-in, right? The areas that are that have a yellow kind of not happy face are areas that you can create one solution, but it's going to be not as rich potentially as the COM add-in. You can have some sort of an experience, and the good news is that we are kind of investing there. These are the areas that are kind of very soon going to be, we're going to get to green, and then there are some others that we definitely need to do way more work. Like for example, proofing solutions like real-time assistance when you're typing an email and kind of giving real-time help when you're typing. It's an area that definitely is not, you cannot create a great ad in there, right? But in the future, we're going to invest more also there. And then, as you can see, some of the features that we are launching are kind of consistent with this plan. No? So we're going to be shipping soon some improvements for spam reporting add-ins. We in 1.13 we're including support for shared mailbox, something that you guys have asked a lot. Item multi-select, contextless commands, and so on and so forth. Some of them are basically part of our announcement at the conference 1.13. So let's go into that for more detail. Let me move on to the next chapter. So, well, I just shared what the new Outlook means for developers and what the team is doing to kind of help here. And then this is just what Mailbox 1.13 is at build was rolling out to production. Now I can share with you that is in production. So if you install the latest, it's available in Win32 for the current channel and in the Outlook for the web, Minowa. So this is actually in production right now. During July, during next month, it's also going to be available in the Mac. So here, Mailbox 1.13 includes the following features. Support for item multi-select. So we have a lot of you guys asking us right now. Add-ins, as you probably know, Outlook add-ins only work if you're selecting a single item in your Explorer view. So basically, we are adding the ability to select multiple items, enable commands in the ribbon to kind of previously they were disabled, now they are enabled, and we are providing you with APIs in order to get the selected items. Context-free add-ins. This one also was a feature that was many people want the taskbank to remain open, even if there's no kind of item selected, or if you're, for example, selecting a conversation header, that we were kind of not supporting to have an add-in active in those conditions, but now it is supported. We're adding more launch events, the from change event. As you will see in a second, it's basically an event that triggers when you change the from that you're sending the email, right? We're going to talk a little bit more detail about that, about more of these new capabilities in later slides. So I'm just going to move forward. So I want to show you now the first demo. We invited Corey from Harmony, and their add-in is basically showing how they're using multi-select and context-free commands to enable their command into the new Outlook. Let's run the video here.
So much, Juan. I'm excited to share with your community today our journey onto the new Outlook. So Harmony is a Microsoft partner. We have over 500,000 users currently on our com-based Outlook add-in. And our add-in makes it easy for anyone to save, share, and organize content across Microsoft 365 directly from Outlook. So we're really excited about the new Outlook. We've been working closely with Microsoft and with your team specifically to leverage some of the latest features available to web add-ins on the new Outlook. And our goal really being to migrate our existing 500,000 users from the com architecture onto the new web architecture and provide an even better user experience for them. So during our discussions, we had shared with you a few things that some of our users loved about the com add-in, but weren't previously available on web add-ins in Outlook. And this included persistency of the sidebar and also multi-select capabilities. And I'm really happy to say that your team has since implemented both of those features and you've been incredibly responsive. So thank you so much. I'd love to share with you a sneak peek of the new Harmony, our new web add-in, with some of those features already implemented. So if we jump into Outlook here you can see the pre-release version of the Harmony web add-in in the new Outlook. You have all your locations across Microsoft 365 here. Thanks to context list support, something users really loved about our com add-in was that regardless of what they were doing in Outlook, the Harmony add-in would stay open. And this previously wasn't the case for web add-ins. It related to the context of the email. Now, thanks to context lists, regardless of what email they've selected, or even if no email has been selected at all, the sidebar will stay open. So this really empowers the user to maintain their workflow within the sidebar, as well as within Outlook. So it's really powerful, and we're excited to enable it for users of our web add-in. And then the second feature that you've implemented was multi-select support. So on Harmony, we let users save emails and attachments anywhere within Microsoft 365. For example, if I wanted to save to this Teams channel, I would select an email and click the Save button. And thanks to multi-select, the sidebar will recognize when any number of emails is selected, and users can easily click to save all emails at once. Here it's saying all 5 emails. So it really saves the user a lot of time. And it's really going to be a powerful feature for our users. So thank you so much for all of your support throughout this journey. We're excited to continue working together, and we're ready for the new Outlook. So back to you.
Right. So that was a really good example about how Harmony is using, multi-select and also context for they're calling context-free add-ins, basically that the task pane can remain open. And by the way, that also works as you know today, Outlook add-ins in Win32 only work if the reading pane is visible. With this new investment, even if the pane is not visible, the add-in is still going to be kind of up and running, right? So I see a couple of interesting questions here in the call. Like, for example, if I can explain the from change event. So yes, you will see a demo in a second, but basically, Cody, when in Outlook you can actually make visible, and if you have multiple mailboxes configured in your profile, you can enable, in the from button to kind of change to from which mailbox you want to send the email. And there are some scenarios that require kind of knowing that you're changing the from, and we are providing an event for that. So you're going to see that in a second. People are talking here about killing Excel, BSTO for Excel. So now, guys, please don't create confusion here. This is only for Outlook, right? We haven't made any announcements around doing non-supporting COM add-ins for Excel or any other Office application. This is only an initiative that is happening in Outlook exclusively, right? So don't no worries about that. Okay, so let's go and keep looking at more features. So we part of Mailbox 1.13 is to add delivery, send delivery API. So many customers were asking us about, hey, I want to delay the delivery of an email just because, I want to send an email on a proper time zone, for the recipients, or I just want to make sure that, for example, if I even in the same time zone, I want to send my email around a decent time on my current time zone, so that everybody's when they receive the email at the right moment. So Outlook has an issue that when you use the native UI for delayed delivery, Outlook needs to remain open for the email to go. So this is not how the API works. The API, which is the item.delayDelivery, is a server-side delay. So the email basically goes away, and it will be kind of retained on the server and delivered when the time is reached. Evidently, you don't need to have Outlook open for this. So yes, there you go. So this is the API. It's very simple, very powerful, and needed for some scenarios. Share Mailbox. So many of you guys have been asking about the shared mailbox support. Basically, for those of you who don't know what's a shared mailbox, there are email accounts at companies like, for example, sales@contoso.com. The key about shared mailboxes is that multiple users have access to that mailbox, and they can actually send or reply to messages, with that account. So that was not supported until recently. So in the manifest, we are reusing the support shared folder flag, to indicate that shared mailbox are supported. So this is now supported across Windows, across Outlook on the web, and also for the Mac. So we have this support ready for you guys to use. Good news for everybody. And then prepend on send for some of the classification and encryption scenarios, it's needed, when someone sends an email, that at the very top of the email we can actually add some confidentiality or some any text really at the beginning of the message. So, but the the important thing here is to avoid the user from removing it. No, so you want to make sure that that always goes with the email. So we shipped a long time ago a append on send API, which was doing what's adding the content at the end of the message. So the pre-append on send API is going to be adding the content at the beginning of the message before the item goes away. So this is also part of Mailbox 1.13. Sensitivity labels. This is a big feature, especially for security add-ins, that they require to know or if what sensitivity label is applied to a message, right? So maybe you guys have seen this feature that it's in many Office applications actually, but also in Outlook, that you can change the sensitivity of an email. And we are providing programmatic access to that feature. So what are we providing with the label API? Well, number one, sensitivity labels can change by organization. So we have an API to get what are the sensitivity labels available on my tenant. Evidently, I can also get the sensitivity on an item or to set it as part of the adding experience. And we are also providing an event that works in an auto launch fashion as well. So it works if the admin is active or in the background. And this event, you can use it to learn if the user changed the sensitivity level of an item. So highly requested feature, shipped. All right. So I want to show you another video, this time from CodeTwo. Simon Sesniak actually did a very cool demo about the from change event. Someone was asking about this. So this admin is using that, and let me show you a video of how they are doing it. Also, they're showing in general, auto launch events and how they are using that to enable their experience into the new Outlook. Let's see the video, folks.
So what makes web add-ins so powerful is the event-based activation. Let me quickly show you how our add-in uses different kinds of events. When I start composing an email, see what happens. Boom, the CodeTwo signature automatically appears. So what happened here exactly? Well, when I opened a new message, Outlook called our onNewMessage compose event handler, which pulled the default signature for this account from the CodeTwo cloud and added it to the email body via the signature API. This API can also override users' native signature settings, so if you centrally manage signatures in your organization, you don't have to worry about the existing Outlook signatures. And that's not all. I can open the add-in pane by clicking here to access other features. If my organization has set up more signatures for me, I will see them here. The first one on the list is the default signature that's already been added to my message, but I can change it to another one by clicking here. Let's use the default signature for now because there's another great feature I want to show you. This add-in can recognize email recipients using the onMessageRecipients changed event. How does this work? Well, right now I haven't added any recipients yet, so Outlook inserted my default simple internal signature based on my organization's settings. But when I add an external recipient, the add-in will recognize this and change my signature to a fully branded external version. Depending on your organization's requirements, you can set up CodeTwo to insert dedicated email signatures for internal and external recipients, specific groups, or even individual recipients, like if you email a kink or something. But there's even more. Today, I'd like to premiere the latest feature we've been working on with the Microsoft Outlook add-ins team. Let's say I want to send a message from my customer success team's shared mailbox instead of my personal account. When I toggle the visibility of the from field and change the email sender, see what happens. My personal signature is replaced by my customer success team's signature. Thanks to the new event, onMessageFromChanged, web add-ins can now recognize the email sender. This feature is super helpful because it actually makes our web add-in a complete product to handle all use cases. As you can see, the event-based activation and web add-ins open a new world of possibilities to interact with emails in real time. Plus, we get super easy deployment options and streamlined user experience in the new Outlook. And I'm excited to tell you that all these features are soon coming to our Outlook web add-in experience. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching.
All right, that was a very good demo, Simon. Thank you so much about how they're using the from change event and many other auto launch events that the solution is using, right? So they're doing great. In the video, Simon also shared that adding has processed around 3 billion signatures from the time they shipped a few months ago. So this is really amazing. All right, so that was what we shared at Build. Now I want to switch gears and talk about Smart Alerts best practices, right? So Smart Alerts is a feature that we shipped not so long ago. I think probably like 6 months or 1 year ago, depending on if you're in the semi-annual channel or in the current channel. But basically, what is Smart Alerts? So people were asking in the call earlier about the on-send event. Okay, so we do have the on-send event here. No? So this is basically Smart Alerts is a feature to handle an on-send event for emails and appointments. Basically, the idea here is that when the user clicks send, you have access to, we're going to trigger an event that your admin can handle. And then you can do many things, right? Many people use this to validate the content of the email, you can encrypt content, you can do many things, right? So it's like super powerful feature. This, we shipped previously another event handler for this, but had a number of issues. We decided to kind of release a new kind of flavor of it that actually in Win32 runs in a JavaScript engine. So it's a very lightweight kind of layer of JavaScript, and it's more efficient, to load. It's using less memory, and it's way more fast than if we load the full browser. That's basically benefits for helping in the performance. Everything that you saw in the previous demos was using exactly JS runtime, so you can see it's like flashy fast. So the idea of this feature is that you can block the send of an email, but you can block it in two different modes, what we call blocking modes. One is used for the scenario here is that, for instance, if you want to give a recommendation to a user, for example, you're analyzing an email and it turns out that, for example, that you're not including an agenda in your appointment request, right? So maybe you can suggest the user, hey, maybe you want to add an agenda here or not. So it's actually optional, right? So we provide a send anyway option in the block. The user doesn't care that much about it. The other mode is that it's mandatory. So basically changes like, hey, you need to classify this content, or for example, hey, you cannot send this email to these recipients because you're kind of using sensitive content, stuff like that, right? So the change is mandatory. So the send anyway button is basically not available in those cases, right? One other advantage of using Smart Alerts, big advantage, is that the previous feature that we shipped, if your adding for whatever reason was unavailable, the user couldn't send emails. So it was like we call it that's why we call it hard block on send. No, in some scenarios that in some cases that's by design. It's so critical that the add-in runs that the user is not allowed to send emails until the add-in gets responsive. But for most scenarios, that's not the case. No, so we don't need to do such an aggressive block. So that doesn't happen in Smart Alerts. So in Smart Alerts, if your add-in isn't responsive or your add-in is not available, the user can still send emails. So we notify them that the add-in is not available, and then we send the email. And for that reason, it's also allowed in the store. Previously, on-send events were not allowed to be in app stores, and now this new feature allows you to publish events that are publish add-ins that are using Smart Alert events. So it has a ton of benefits. It's way faster, doesn't block users from sending email. It's allowed in the store, and so on and so forth. No, now what I have been looking at in the community is that I have been working with many customers, and they are sharing kind of many issues, by early adopters. And I think I talked about this in a previous call, but I want to double down on the message because it's very important. No? So the top 4 issues that we have been receiving here is that the performance caused by heavy validations. So there are a bunch of partners or customers that are kind of, on the send event, they are validating that all the recipients that are in the email kind of should receive it. And in many cases, they have distribution lists that have 500 users, and so it takes time to be validating user by user, no? Or for example, the email has many attachments and 10 attachments that are heavy, and I want to encrypt all the attachments. They're doing that on the on-send event, no? And that's possible, obviously, technically, right? But we believe that we should not delay the send experience. We should minimize at all costs the need to spend too much time on the send event, no? So that's why what we're recommending all these partners, and they have been improving their products very significantly, is that they do kind of pre-checks as much as possible. So keep the on-send event minimal, and then use other kind of auto launch events to help you here. No, for example, why don't you validate the recipients every time the user is adding them with a recipient? You can use the recipients change event to be kind of real time validating what the content of the message, right? Or in attachments, we also have an attachment added event or attachment removed event, so you can kind of validate all that logic at that moment instead of doing it at the end, in the send. So that is kind of the top recommendation here, folks. Please pre-validate, pre-check using auto launch events sooner. No, don't leave it at the end until the send happens. Okay, so that is basically just kind of best practice, I guess, that we strongly recommend you to do with Smart Alerts. The other thing that we have heard from our community is to enable a custom dialogue as part of the event handler. So right now, the goal is to provide a consistent experience in Outlook. So we are in this feature, we are allowing just custom dialogues like the one I showed in the previous screen. No, this one that if did you add an agenda item? So this is, you can customize kind of very little of this dialogue by design. No? We don't want to have. So another key principle here is that we should nobody likes to be kind of getting these messages when you send an email frequently, right? So I think we believe that is not a key principle for this type of feature is that we shouldn't show any dialogues if possible, if at all possible. Never show any dialogue, no? If your add-in is responsive and is fast, and it's just blocking and some concrete kind of errors that the user can have in this message, we should use the custom dialogues. Now, we have been discussing this with many of you, and they still need kind of an experience to add a custom UI. No, so basically we're simplifying. How can you pop a custom user experience that I will share with you in a second? This is something that we are kind of working on right now, and we're looking to get feedback from you guys. The third is that there are event handler loopholes. So basically, this means that the event doesn't trigger in some conditions. Like for example, if you go to the Windows Explorer and you right-click a document and you say send this email, that is a simple MAPI scenario, or any simple MAPI app for whatever it's worth. If you are sending an email with simple MAPI, the events don't get triggered. So for this, we're adding a policy, a GPO, a group policy that admins can use to avoid using simple MAPI and just make sure that to load Outlook for these cases. And finally, the other very common issue is the mix of mandatory versus recommendation blocks. No, I was sharing this that Smart Alerts can provide different block modes, and it turns out that in the same add-in can have both cases. This is something that you specify in the manifest. What is going to be the nature of the block of your add-in? And it turns out that this can be basically changed at runtime. There are some types of blocks that require a recommendation, and sometimes they're validating many policies, and sometimes this needs to be mandatory. So the good news is that we are working on improving this so that you can override it at runtime. Here are the improvements that we are working on to simplify the custom UI experience. So basically what you have today, or what you can play today when you block the send of an email, is a dialogue like this. No, you have the send anyway. You only have send anyway or don't send. So basically what we're going to be doing is that we are going to allow you to programmatically add an action right here, right? So the main reason why people need to kind of launch a custom UI experience is because they need to go back to the email and kind of make a few changes so that they can actually send it. And basically that they need kind of a UI to guide users on how they can fix their email so that it can go. So basically that requires that visibility, of what's been wrong in the email, and then as the user is improving it, that you need kind of some UI to check that everything is working properly. So basically what we're going to be enabling in this feature, and we're going to launch a preview soon, is that you can actually replace the don't send with a custom action button. And the idea is that when you click on it, you're going to be able to launch a task pane so that you can have a custom UI that is side by side with your message and can help your users to complete the task they're doing, right? So this is kind of the the improvement we're going to be having on this place. Let us know your feedback. I mean, we're in right now. When we launch the preview, I'm going to be back in the call to share that news with you guys. And then the other thing that we're doing is the override the mandatory versus recommendation. So today, you have control of showing what buttons do you show in this dialog. If you select the soft block mode, the prompt user mode, we provide you a send anyway option, or not. That's basically what you can customize here. Many of these add-ins, and maybe that's your case also, are when you're sending an email, are validating many policies. Some of those policies require a mandatory change, and other policies require a recommendation, it's just a recommendation. So we're going to be adding an API so that at runtime, depending on what you're validating, you can show or not show, the send anyway option here. So that's going to give you flexibility in your add-ins to show or not show that option here, right? So with these improvements, I believe that we're going to make the feature better, and I want to thank our community because they are giving us feedback, and we are trying to make our products better as a result, and help you guys have better experience within Outlook. Right, so I'm going to share a few resources for Outlook add-ins, documentation, quick starts, and so on. And at this point, this is all the content that I have for you guys to share today. Thank you very much for hopefully this is useful for you guys, and I will